lines of lineage, people that weren't directly related to him, and he gave us golden principles of a stepfather, of a father, and of a grandfather. Of course, we have the hadith about Hassan and Hussein, the Sunan of Abi Dawood, the Jami' at-Tirmidhi, in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ not only brought children into the masjid, but he allowed them to come in the masjid, and he allowed them to be themselves. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وجاهد في الله تعالى حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين فصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. One day, a man was inquisitive about Islam. He wanted to know about Islam, and he had questions about Islam. So he asked, who better to ask about Islam than a Muslim? So he asked the Muslim about a thing. And it was as if this non-Muslim, if he got the answer that he was looking for, he would either accept Islam or for sure be a step closer to accepting Islam. One of the two. Either he would take his shahada or he would be on the verge and the brink of making a serious consideration of becoming a Muslim. And the question that he wanted from the Muslim, the thing that this non-Muslim man was involved with or liked, his profession, his skill, his talent, his hobby, was cooking. The man was a chef, and he was very fond of culinary arts and the skill of preparing meals for people, preparing desserts for people, the different cuisines from around the world. And we all know the power of food. We all know the power of food, whether we acknowledge it or acknowledge it not. The very first thing that you look for when you travel to a hotel or a country or a resort is the food, the reviews of the food. France is known for what? It's food. Italy is known for its what? It's food. The closest way of bringing people together oftentimes is a plate of food. I'm going to have to give a lecture about the importance of food, and the Quran and the Sunnah does not neglect this. There are ample ayat in which Allah Azza wa Jalla talks about eating and talks about drinking and talks about the virtue and the benefit of eating and drinking and the harm and the vice of excessive or unlawful eating and drinking. We don't have that much time. But if you read the Quran, you'll find an abundance of ayat pertaining to food and pertaining to animals that you slaughter and that you eat, the drinks, the tayyibat, etc. So we all know the importance and the power of food. So this man, he was a chef, he was a cook, and he wanted to either become a Muslim or at least get a step closer to becoming a Muslim. So he asked the Muslim man, he says, well, what does Islam say about food? And what does Islam say about my profession? If I become a Muslim today, do I have to quit my job? Is it haram? Is it unlawful? And we know that many Muslims, when they give da'wah to non-Muslims, oftentimes they lack wisdom. Oftentimes they lack wisdom and they lack common sense. كيف لا والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هو الذي يقول لأصحابه الكرام إن منكم لمنفرين. هذا للصحابة. فيكم من ينفر عن الدين بسبب عدم الحكمة وبسبب قلة الحكمة وبسبب عدم استعمال الحكمة في الوقت الذي ينبغي. إن فيكم أو إن منكم لمنفرين. يقول هذا للصحابة. فما بالك بنا نحن؟ كم نفرنا عن دين الله بسبب قلة الحكمة وعدم الحكمة وقلة العقل. The Prophet ﷺ, once he said to his companions, from among you are those who run others away. From among you, he said, the Sahaba, are those who run people away. And of course, we know the famous hadith of Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, when a man prayed behind him, and Mu'adh radiallahu anhu would make Salatul Isha twice, double Isha. He would pray with the Prophet, and he would also lead his people in the Jama'ah. He would pray with the Prophet. He wouldn't lose and miss out on the virtue of the Jama'ah with the Prophet ﷺ. And he would also lead his qawm at the small local musalla or masjid and Salat al-Isha. And the scholars of Islam, they differ which of the two was the fard. هل صلى الفرد مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وتنفل مع قومه ولا العكس؟ صلى النافلة مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وصلى بقومه الفرد. على قولين. They differed on this issue. المهم المقصود والشيء الذي يريد أن أصل إليه. The point that I'm trying to get to is when the man entered the prayer behind Mu'adh, and Mu'adh recited the Quran for a very long time, the man had camels to tend to. He had a farm, he had something that he had to look towards, a health condition. He couldn't stand in the prayer for a very long time. So he left the prayer and he made his own salah and he shortened it. He made a brief prayer. And when Mu'adh radiallahu anhu heard about this, as if Mu'adh called the man a munafiq, or as if he accused him of being a munafiq, and as if he threatened him, he says, I'm going to go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and I'm going to tell him about this, I'm going to tell him about that. You leave the prayer for dunya, you leave the salah for your farm, for your animals, etc. And keep in mind that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, or is quoted to have said, فيما يروى عنه وأعلمهم بالحلال والحرام معاذ بن جبل. وأعلمهم أعلم الصحابة بالحلال والحرام معاذ. So when the Prophet heard about what happened between Mu'adh and that man, he said to Mu'adh very harsh words. He didn't expose him or embarrass him, but he said directly to his face. He says, أفتان أنت يا معاذ أفتان أنت يا معاذ أفتان أنت يا معاذ. He says, are you making trouble? You want to make a hardship upon the people? You want to make a difficulty upon the people? إذا صليت بالناس, when you lead the people in prayer, فقرأ, then lead what? والشمس وضحاها والليل إذا يغشى. هذه السور. Read those surahs and don't make a hardship upon the people. So the point I'm trying to get to is, we push people away from Islam sometimes because we don't have the necessary knowledge. Or we have the knowledge, but we don't have the necessary wisdom, the hikmah, what to say, how to say, when to say it, how to avoid this question, how to get out of someone that's trying to heckle you in a lecture. That's a very serious issue. We'll talk about it another time. You would like to know about this in Islam, slavery in Islam, jihad in Islam? I'm sure that's very interesting, but I'm here to talk about the rights of children in Islam. That's all I'm here to talk about. Thank you very much. We can step to the side and we can discuss this issue that I have a problem with. Hikmah. You have to know what to do, how to avoid certain things, and certain things you just don't bring up, you don't talk about. So this Muslim who was asked about culinary arts, he had a great deal of wisdom. And he didn't say, as some of us would have said, just be a Muslim. Make your shahada, tawheed, reject kufr, reject the taghut, and that's it. That's all you need to know. He answered his question. He says, yes. He says, Islam talks about culinary arts. And you can be a chef if you become a Muslim. There's nothing wrong with cooking and enjoying foods and tasting things. No, there's nothing wrong with that. So the non-Muslim man, he said to him, really? Where does it state in the Quran that chefs have a place and culinary arts are important and we should learn how to prepare food and so on and so on? Where is this at? The Muslim man, he said, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. He says, ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. This verse in the Quran is a proof for everything that you want and everything that you desire. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. When it comes to preparing food, culinary arts, all the things that you're interested in, that verse encompasses all of it. And those who are Ahlul Dhikr, we ask them. So the Quran has taught me everything I need to know about culinary arts, everything. And that is through Su'al Ahlul Dhikr. And obviously the man, he accepted Islam. He became a Muslim upon hearing that. So what is the point, brothers and sisters? Where am I going with this? Am I just wasting time? Am I just running circles around? Am I just trying to burn time? I don't have a topic. I don't know what I want to talk about and say with regards to raising children. No. It's a very, very, very important point from this story and from this ayah. And that is, many Muslims think and feel that raising children is only taken from the Quran and the Sunnah. And raising children, we cannot benefit from the knowledge and the science and the expertise of people who specialize in the behavior of children. Many people, they think and they feel this, that there's no benefit, there's no value, there's no faida whatsoever with regards to how to properly or improperly raise a child. And obviously, based off of that ayah, that's incorrect. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And there are people who spent many years out of their lives, they have read many books, done a great deal of research, and they have become قَدْ أَصْبَحُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ فيما يتعلق بتنشئة الأطفال وتربية الأولاد, with regards to raising children and with regards to bringing up a generation. But that does not mean that just because a person is a scholar and an authority on a subject or field, that every single thing that they say is right and that they're infallible and there's nothing which is a mistake or an error. That does not mean that all of child psychology and child behavior is in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah, in accordance with the pure teachings of Islam. So we have three main categories. This is extremely important. And anyone who has children, he realizes this. We have the teachings of these different doctors and these specialists that goes hand in hand with the Quran and the Sunnah. Hand in hand with the Quran and the Sunnah. ما يوافق ما عندنا في الكتاب والسنة. والقسم الثاني العكس تماما. ما يناقضه ويضاده ويخالفه تماما. Is that which is in direct clash with the teachings of the Kitab and the Sunnah. والقسم الثالث والأخير. The third and final category is that which does not agree with a verse or a hadith, nor does it go against it. There's nothing in the Quran and the Sunnah says you can't do this with your children, or you shouldn't behave like this with your children, or you shouldn't use this technique or this style or this method with regards to interacting and dealing with your children. So we have three main categories, and the same applies to medicine. Medicine, Muslims, they'll say you can't go through this type of therapy, you can't go see this type of specialist, you can't read this book. When they get sick, when they fall ill, what's the first thing that they do? Do they recite the Fatiha? Do they say A'udhu bi kalimatillahi? Do they seek protection in the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Min sharri ma ajidu wa uhadhir. Do they make that prophetic supplication? Or they look for the medicine cabinet, they look for pills, and they go to the hospital. Many Muslims, maybe yourself, if you actually think about it, when's the last time you made dua when you got pain? When's the last time you made the supplication on your arm, where your arm is hurting you, or your leg is hurting you, or your belly is hurting you? The first thing you look for is medicine. Something happens to a Muslim, the first place we go is where? We go to the doctors. Rather, there are Muslims who travel from the Middle East, the lands of the Muslims, to the Gharb, the West, and meet with a non-Muslim surgeon. They travel thousands of miles, pay thousands of dollars to find a kafir, mushrik, jarrah. Is this not the case? So why do Muslims feel so hypocritical? Why do they practice so much hypocrisy when it comes to this? That medicine is okay, but when it comes to the child's medicine or behavior of the child, dealing with the child, it's nothing more than this and that. If that was the case, we wouldn't go to hospitals, because what we have in the Quran and the Sunnah is what? Sufficient. And any other type of technology or advancement or social system or any etc. Everyone understand the point that I'm trying to get to? So the point that I'm trying to get to is that when you read these books or you watch these videos or you go to these different conferences, you're going to find things which go hand in hand with Quran and Sunnah. What the non-Muslim specialists say, this is what you should do with your son. And this is what you shouldn't do with your son. And you'll find a hadith that says, wow, subhanAllah, as if they read Sahih Bukhari, as if they were reading the Quran. And as well, many non-Muslims, when they read these texts, they say, oh, that's interesting. There are hadiths about children, and the Prophet said, don't say this in front of this one, hide this person's fault, do this, do that, so on and so forth, and they'll accept Islam. And of course, there are many teachings and many different things that they have with them which don't go with the Quran and the Sunnah. It's against the Quran and Sunnah, and a Muslim cannot do it, even if it's claimed to be proven. Even if it's claimed to be proven, or if they claim and say that it's natural, it's okay, it's nothing wrong with it. We say, no, it's not natural and it's not okay. And of course, is the al-maskut anhu. Is that which is not in direct agreement, nor is it in direct clash with the Kitab and the Sunnah. Rather, a person can say there is no third category. القسم الثالث والأخير القسم المسكوت عنه هو داخل في قول عز وجل فاسألوا أهل ذكري إن كنتم لا تعلمون. So the point is, let's make some examples of this. Let's make some examples of things that specialists say with regards to how you should raise your children and capital mistakes of behaving with your children. I'll give an example. It isn't something which is strange. It's very common. You can read. They say one of the worst mistakes that a parent can make is to embarrass the child. To embarrass the child. And to point out the mistakes of the child in front of the other children. And to criticize, to make fun of the child, and to make the child feel stupid and worthless in front of his or her sisters or peers, etc. Think about a situation that happened to you. You did something really silly, really foolish. You made a mistake, and your father, he reprimanded you in front of everybody. Or your mother reprimanded you in front of everyone. Or your grandfather laughed, and everyone laughed at you when you made this mistake when you were younger. Think about an example. Think about how you felt. Did you feel good? Did you feel bad? And think about the effect that that has had on you or is having on you to this day. All right? Now I want you to think, what is the prophetic guidance with regards to pointing out the mistakes of others and embarrassing a Muslim, exposing a Muslim, giving advice to a Muslim, and joining the good and forbidding the evil? Do we have any ayat that talk about this? Any ahadith in which the Prophet ﷺ speaks on the manner of instruction, speaks on the manner of giving advice? The narration that I mentioned to you, Mu'adh radiallahu anhu, did Mu'adh make a mistake or not? He made a mistake, and he was a learned man. How did the Prophet ﷺ deal with him? What did he do with him? What did he say to him or about him? Are we understanding this? This is an example of there are some times in which it's an agreement with Quran and Sunnah, and other times it isn't. And a third time, perhaps, is there's nothing that goes against the Sunnah. And we as Muslims should benefit and learn from their expertise, just like we benefit and we learn from a doctor's expertise. Are we understanding this or not? So the point is, brothers and sisters, is that my advice is that there should always be a balance. First and foremost is the kalam of Allah, no doubt about that. Then we have the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, there's no doubt about that. And then we have the examples of the Sahaba and examples of the great Muslims who came after the Sahaba. There's no doubt about that. But under any circumstance doesn't mean that we cannot learn and benefit from the expertise and from the professionals that instruct us and help us on points and also rules of raising children. The Prophet ﷺ, we have so many hadiths from him. They don't necessarily talk about children, but they talk about stepchildren, people that weren't related to him, or those from his grandchildren, or those from his other offspring or further lines of lineage, people that weren't directly related to him. And he gave us golden principles of a stepfather, of a father, and of a grandfather. Of course, we have the hadith about Hassan and Hussein and the Sunan of Abi Dawood, the Jami' at-Tirmidhi, in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ not only brought children into the masjid, but he allowed them to come in the masjid and he allowed them to be themselves. Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhuma, alayhima qamisani ahmarani, and they had on red garments. One narration says that they got on the minbar, they climbed upon the minbar. The Prophet ﷺ got down from the minbar, played with them, stopped the khutbah, and then got back upon the minbar and went on to teach and explain to the Sahaba whatever he was wishing to teach and to explain to them in that sermon. What's the highlighting point from this hadith? There are many fathers who have sons from their loins, from their blood, that would never ever bring them to the masjid. And they're ashamed of their sons, embarrassed of their sons. Many fathers who feel that a son should not come to the masjid because he's too small. Or if you do come to the masjid, sit in the corner, don't move, don't talk, don't walk. You now have to be a grown man and you're a 3-year-old child or a 4-year-old child. The Prophet ﷺ, he had Hassan and Hussein to jump on his back, as another narration says, and to climb upon the minbar, and they weren't his actual sons. They weren't directly his sons. So what do you think now we're using qiyas? If that's the case of your grandson, then what do you think is the case for your actual son? Min bab al-awla, fala taqul lahuma uff. Don't even say uff. If you can't say uff to your mother, then what do you think about cursing your mother? Everyone understand this? وَلَا يَضْرِبْنَ بِأَرْجُلِهِنَّ لِيُعْلَمَ مَا يُخْفِينَ مِنْ زِينَتِهِنَّ. هذا الرجل، هذا القدم، الكعب، فما بالك بالوجه، فما بالك بالصدر، فما بالك بالشعر، ليعلم ما يخفين من زينتهن. هذا القدم، رجل بكاملها، الشعر، ما بالك. يعني هذا باب مهم من أبواب القياس، وهي قياس الأولى، وهذا مجمع عليه بين أهل العلم، لا يختلفون في صحة هذا النوع من القياس، وإنما اختلفوا في قياس العلة وبعض الأقيسة الأخرى. حتى الظاهرية وابن حزم وهؤلاء العلماء كلهم مجمعون على هذا النوع من القياس. وإنما نبهت على هذا لأن كثيرا ممن يخوض في هذا الموضوع يغلط فينسب إنكار القياس إلى الظاهرية، وهذا ليس بصحيح. لا ينكرون كل الأقيسة، وإنما ينكرون بعض الأقيسة، والغلو في تلكم الأقيسة. المهم، المقصود is that Allah Azza wa Jal, He tells the women not to walk a certain way. He tells the women not to move their feet a certain way. He tells the women not to stomp in a certain way, so that the zina, their ankles and their gold anklets and the hinna, whatever they have on their legs, is not to be seen, is not to be known. So if Allah tells them not to walk a certain way, what do you think about showing their faces and showing their hands and showing the rest of their body, if that's the foot and the ankle? So the point that I'm trying to get to is that the Prophet ﷺ, he manifested good character and he manifested tarbiyah with people that were not his actual blood sons. Salama radiallahu anha, when her husband left this world, Abu Salama, he died radiallahu anhu, she was distressed. She was sad. She was berated. And she said to herself, who could I get that's better than Abu Salama? What husband could be more righteous and more pious than this man? And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he gave her advice to say that whenever a musibah, a calamity comes to the servant, to supplicate to Allah, Allahumma akhlifni fi musibati wa ajurni alayha, aw kama qala alayhi salatu. Oh Allah, give me better. Oh Allah, replace what was taken from me or what I lost. So Salama, she was advised by the Prophet ﷺ to say this dua. You don't know what's in store for you. You don't know what Allah has planned for you. And she said it. And afterwards, Allah blessed her with the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. With no disrespect to Abu Salama, but who could be a better husband than the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? So she had a son. And Abu Salama left behind a son, an orphan. And in Islam, an orphan is someone who only loses his father before puberty. If your mother is still alive, you're not considered an orphan. Man mata abuhu dun al-bulugh, is that he loses his father and he hasn't reached adulthood in al-Islam. That is the definition of an orphan in Arabic and in the Arabic language. لأن اليتيم مأخوذ من اليتم واليتم مأخوذ من الكسب. يعني الأب الوالد هو الذي يكسب للأسرة. المفترض في هذا العصر يختلف. هناك يعني وظائف يقومن بها النساء. المهم is that in the Arabic language, if you lose your father before the age of puberty, you are considered an orphan, right? So therefore, Salama had a son. Abu Salama, they had a son, and his name was Amr. And some say Umar. And he lived with the Prophet ﷺ. He ate with the Prophet ﷺ. He slept with the Prophet ﷺ. And it's the last thing we want to say because we don't have a lot of time. And a topic like this, of course, needs much more time. And the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him such golden advice. And this hadith is one of the most beautiful prophetic narrations that shows us how to live with our children. And that was his stepson, don't forget. That was his stepson, not his actual blood son. Umar radiallahu anhu, or Umar, he said, I was in the Prophet ﷺ's household. وَكُنْتُ وَكَانَتْ يَدِي تَطِيشُ فِي الصَّحْفَةِ. And whenever we ate, my hand was all over the place. Here, there, in the middle, on the side, in front of him. تَطِيشُ فِي الصَّحْفَةِ. I ate all over the place. So the Prophet ﷺ, one day, he said to me the following words. He said, يَا غُلَامِ سَمِّ اللَّهِ وَكُلْ بِيَمِينِكَ وَكُلْ مِمَّا يَلِيكَ. قال عمرو بن أبي سلمة رضي الله عنه فَمَا زَالَتْ تِلْكَ طِعْمَتِي بَعْدْ. He said, oh young man, سَمِّ اللَّهِ, say Bismillah before you eat. وَكُلْ بِيَمِينِكَ, eat with your right hand. وَكُلْ مِمَّا يَلِيكَ, and eat from the food which is closest to you. This young man, this Sahabi, who's mentioned in other ahadith, he said, فَمَا زَالَتْ تِلْكَ تِعْمَتِي بَعْدْ. After the Prophet gave me those simple words of instruction, I continued to eat like that for the rest of my life. I continued to eat like that from the rest of my life. This hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari, as we all know. And the Prophet ﷺ, first and foremost, he ate with his stepson. There are fathers who don't eat with their blood sons. There are fathers who don't eat with their daughters. There are people who feel that they're too busy or too important or above to eat with their children, or they make too much noise, or you go with your mother, you eat over there. Me, I'm going to eat over here. There are parents who split and separate and segregate their children. Me and the oldest daughter, we're over here, we're good. The other children and the other boys and girls, you stay in the house with your mother. Is this not the case? And they all come from his loins, blood. Not a stepson, a rabib or a raba'ibukum. Nah, this is blood son. One son gets treated a certain way, and the other sons get treated harshly. They look down upon him, discipline them, reprimand him. But one son gets away with murder. One daughter, she gets whatever she wants. And others, there's nothing that's ever said about them. The Prophet sat down and he didn't discriminate between his blood children, his wives, and his stepson or stepsons. So that's the first point from this hadith. And that's the first piece of advice of the tarbiyah, is that if you want your children to be upon the sunnah and to be upon Islam and the Quran, you must be with them physically. You must spend time with them and give them a sense of value, a sense of worth, and a sense of importance, and a sense of respect. So he ate with the Prophet ﷺ from the same plate. Not a separate plate. This is your food. Don't touch my plate. You have beans and rice. And I have the mendi. And the hilab, huh? Like many of us do. La. And you'll be shocked. Many brothers are like this. You and your mother, you have falafel. And I have what? The laham. He ate from one plate. So once the Prophet ﷺ saw that the young man was eating all over the place, he didn't grab his hand. All right? He didn't hit him. He didn't say anything bad or negative to him. Rather, he addressed him with respect. And he didn't say, Ya walad. He said, Ya ghulam. Oh, young man. He called him a young man. What did the Prophet ﷺ call his daughter? What was her name? Her name was what? Kulthum. How many children did she have? Did she have a son or a daughter named Kulthum at that time? Of course not. But she had a kunya, the mother of Kulthum. In other words, he put in her what? A sense of value and respect. He said to Anas radiallahu anhu when the bird had died in the cage, Ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala al-Nughayr. هل له ولد اسمه عمير؟ أبدا حاشا. إنما سماه وكناه احتراما له. He gave him a sense of value as if you have a son. So he said, Ya ghulam, oh young man. And he called him a boy or stepson. Oh son of such and such, son of Abu Salama. He said, Ya ghulam, oh young man, listen, let me tell you how to live life. Much more than a plate of food. Sammillah. Whenever you wish to eat, you have to say Bismillah. You want to get a job, you have a career, you have a profession, you want to embark upon something, you have a dream, whatever you want and aspire, you can do it. as long as you do it in the name of Allah. As long as you realize that Allah is the one who helps you, assists you, aids you. And as long as you realize that the barakah only comes from Allah. It's not about your talent, son. It's not about how smart you are, son. You're not going to get it because of your good looks. And you're going to go places and people aren't going to care that you're my son. Sammillah. Ista'in billah. Seek Allah's help. Seek Allah's barakah. Always know that all good comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sammillah. That's included in that. And it's all from kullu hadhi min ma'ani al-basmalah. Kullu hadha min ma'ani al-basmalah. It's from the meanings of saying Bismillah. That's number one. He then said, wa kul bi yaminika. And eat with your right hand. I.e., attack things and approach things from the proper direction. The yameen, the blessed side, the lucky side, the good side, the yameen. Don't do things backwards. Don't do things haphazardly. Don't think that you can mix and match and do it how you want to. Allah says, enter the home, min abwabiha, from the gates. Kul bi yaminika. Do it the right way, whatever you want to do. Son, if you seek Allah's help, and if you exert yourself and put forth the necessary efforts, you will succeed. Whatever that thing may be, a football player, a scholar, whatever it may be, seek Allah's help and do it the right way and put forth the necessary effort. Bidnillah ta'ala, you will what? You'll get there. Last but not least, he said, وَكُلْ مِمَّا يَلِيكَ. He gave him the paramount wisdom of eating from in front of him, which is also translated to mean avoid greed. Avoid greed, son. Don't be greedy. And the golden rule is that the grass is not greener on the other side. It's one of the most important pieces of wisdom to give to your son or daughter. The grass isn't greener on the other side. I want to be like him. I want to have what he has. I want to go here. I want to live there. I want to do this. And the people, they think that it's always better. Oh, he has this piece of meat. Oh, you have this, you have that. Eat from that which is what? In front of you. Suffice yourself. He taught this young boy not to be greedy. He taught this young boy to be content. He taught this young boy to be pleased with what Allah gave him. There's nothing more important than that to teach to your son. And that's because when you have greed and you can never get enough, you'll do the haram. You'll avoid the obligatory acts because I have to get what I want. I come from a place, Philadelphia, the 76ers, in which kids get shot in the street, 17 years old, 16 years old, 14 years old, 16 years old, like it's nothing. One year I came back from Medina, and wallahi, there were more murders than days of the year. The year wasn't over yet. It was in the summertime. And the rate of murders, homicide, was more than the number of days that had passed by. Not a knife bank, like we saw in Birmingham, right? A knife bank. Give up your knife. Throw away your knife. There are kids who walk around with guns like toys. Guns. Grown men guns like toys. They collect them, play with them. And oftentimes, people get shot dead in the street. Literally. So therefore, how does this innocent young 16-year-old or this 17-year-old or this 13-year-old, he barely has dirt on his lip. He's barely in puberty. He's barely of age. How does he get involved with guns and being shot at and shooting people? What happened? One of the reasons behind this is that young children, these boys, oftentimes they're spoiled. Their mothers spoil them and they give them all type of expensive brand name things. And then when the young boy doesn't do good in school or is disrespectful or is acting like a brat and they don't have no regard, the mother or the father says, I'm not buying it for you this time. I'm not buying the $500 sneakers anymore. No, you can't have them now. But you've been buying the $500 pants, $300 sneakers over the last 3-4 years. The child is not addicted to this lifestyle. So if you're not going to buy it for me and you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to do what? I'm going to find another way to get it. And that's through armed robbery. And that's through drugs. And that's through guns. And that's through being a part of a gang. So oftentimes people, they don't teach their children how to suffice. Be content with what you have, son. Kul mimma yalika. Eat from that which is what? In front of you. You don't need to reach over there to eat. Be happy with what you have. And if you teach your son or your daughter to be pleased with what they have, you've avoided half of the haram problems. Because most people fall into this lifestyle because of greed. And they say, oh, I was starving. I didn't have no money. I had to sell drugs. That's a lie. You did it because you wanted to live that material lifestyle. And those who didn't have a choice, because I believe that there's some who don't have a choice, and they live in that type of environment, but then they become addicted to materialism. They become a slave of brand names, and they become a slave of quick, fast money. I don't go to work. I don't check in. I make thousands and thousands of dollars every single day, tax-free, and you go to work like a slave. It's an addictive lifestyle. And what happens when someone else has a higher level of greed, or someone else is willing to defend their property more than you? Pow, and he's dead. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Kul mimma yalika." Eat from that which is what? In front of you. Last but not least is the effectiveness of the Prophet ﷺ's tarbiyah. How effective his tarbiyah was. It was so effective that the Sahabi said, فَمَا زَالَ تِلْكَ طُعِمَتِي بَعْدِ. After the Prophet told me that, I continued to eat like that, i.e. the lesson went in one ear and it never left the next ear. It stayed. Because the Prophet's words, the Prophet's style, the Prophet's care, the Prophet's respect, the Prophet's barakah that Allah had given him, it allowed the tarbiyah to be effective. And then he didn't just eat like that in front of the Prophet, but when he grew up, he became a man, he had his own family, he continued to say Bismillah, he continued to eat with his right hand, and he continued to eat from that which is in front of him. So this hadith translates to mean, if we do it the right way, inshallah, our children will be affected. And our words and our teachings, our tarbiyah will be impactful. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. We ask Allah, by His beautiful names and perfect attributes, to bless us and to guide us, and to allow our children to be upon the Quran and the Sunnah firmly, and to die upon that, and for the next generation of Muslims to be just as strong, if not better. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.